Hello, everyone. Big show today. Mark Noble is back with the club. What does this mean? Can he save our season? We're going to be talking about that later on. It is Friday Night Pint. Plenty of great topics. I'm here with Ryan and Scott, and it's going to be a good one, lads. How you feeling? We're going to get in some good topics today, mate.
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Good week. West Ham got a point. Unbeaten in 2023. We ain't lost since last year, so we're on the up.
Mark, where's positive Pat? Where's get that positive Pat mask out?
She retired in Brighton, mate. I got rid of her at Brighton away.
Yeah, no, like I said, mate, you know, it's something to hold on to, isn't it? But you know, like I said, obviously we're going to talk about the Noble stuff, which hopefully could be a positive. But let's get straight stuck into it and start with talking about Masuaku. Looks like he's potentially returning. Best Besiktas are going to be looking to end the loan agreement possibly, so he could be coming back. How are you feeling about that one, lads?
Do you know what? I'll be honest. It might not be a bad thing. We're struggling on the left side, but I was hoping that we might go out and sign someone else. I thought the Masuaku days were over, if I'm honest. If he ain't doing it in Turkey, then I don't think he's going to be our answer to the left-back situation. But
I remember you'd sort of, towards the days before he went out on loan, you'd sort of had enough of him, if I remember rightly. And, you know, we'd all backed him for a while, but yeah, it weren't.
He's a frustrating player because going forward, I remember that Tottenham away that time when he done that little bit of skill, and he had that in his locker. And obviously last season he scored the winner against Chelsea. He still didn't mean it. I don't care what anyone says, but he still got it in. But it's just it was defense. It was defensive side, wasn't it, Scott? It was just let us down sometimes. Well,
the funny thing is that the song the fans sing about him is just, you know, never gives the ball away. The geezer gives the ball away all day long.
Yeah.
You know, if we revert, look, if Besiktas are ending the loan, that's why he's coming back. The guy should be loaned straight out. He's not good enough. He's worse than what we've got. You know, and people are criticising some of what we got, and to have him back is just pointless.
To be fair, what I'm wondering is if Moyes is looking to play more of this back five with the wing backs. I mean, he's not like going to be the answer to our prayers and pull up trees, but as an option and more as a wing back than a left back, he could be, because he still had some decent games. It just wasn't consistent enough. That's the problem. But maybe as an option going into, obviously, we've got the FA Cup, if we're still in it. We've obviously got a preview coming out for that. And the Conference League games. Maybe as an option on the bench, because he's obviously going to be sold next season, I reckon, or let go. Yeah. So,
but the thing is, Dan, we if Masuaku was going to get any game time, we wouldn't have signed Emerson. You know, I'll be honest. I'd rather Emerson play over Masuaku all day long.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I watched highlights of Lukaku the other day, and I think Masuaku is actually better than him, to be honest. He's terrible at the moment, Lukaku. But yeah, I agree. I think Emerson's the better player. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be look. If he comes back, then if he can help improve the team somewhat, then we're going to get behind him, aren't we? So he might come back. He might come back a better player. I don't know. He might be a new Masuaku, the second coming of Masuaku.
Well, he's according to this, he's made 14 appearances for them and 1 goal. So it's not like he's been riding the bench.
To be fair, I think that's better than Antonio, isn't it? I don't think Antonio scored in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know whether it's like a case of they don't want to have to buy him at the end or what.
You find with these loan deals that if they play a certain amount of games, they have to sign them. So he might be coming close to that, and they're thinking, no, he's not as good as we thought. So he'd go back to his parent club.
Yeah. I haven't checked I should have checked the table to see actually how Besiktas are doing in the Turkish Super League or whatever. But obviously they feel like he's surplus to requirements. So yeah, it's not going to make the world of difference to our season, but
no. No.
You know,
Look, like I said, if he comes back and he's in the squad, we get behind him. But
yeah,
he's just another one of the deadwood that, in my opinion, needs to go out the door. And needs to go out the door as quick as possible. There's quite a bit of deadwood at this club at the minute that needs to go out the door. Let's be honest, and he's one of them for definite.
great
though.
I
was going to say, talking of Deadwood, Nicky wanted to sign Chris Wood the other day. I didn't know where to look when he said it.
Really?
I thought, has he been drinking? Chris Wood.
Oh dear. Do you know what? Maybe it might suit us a bit better the way Moyes is, having us lumping in these crosses all the time.
Thing is, Dan,
we'd sign crosses, that.
Mate. We could sign Andy Carroll back. We still wouldn't find him.
Yeah, it's like we'd play a different way, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's it. We're putting balls into his feet, trying to get him behind. So, but yeah, we'll get some comments then on Arthur. Arthur is badly injured. On Uncle Arthur. Arthur is badly injured. They would have had to sign him if they kept him any longer and don't want to risk it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I understand because he's not the worst player ever. And I looked at, him in the Turkish Super League. I see that as like a good combination. So yeah, thanks for the update there, mate.
Listen, don't ever take my advice on the Turkish league because I thought Gökhan Torre was going to be the next best thing. Dog shit.
You know what, Ian? My Turkish mate, he was like, "Oh my god, you're getting Gökhan Torre. He is the bee's knees, mate. He's he's unbelievable.
He done well under Bilic. He done well under Bilic at Besiktas, and then he come in and he had a few shaky moments at the beginning, but then he set up the first goal in the Premier League at the London Stadium, and we won 1-0. And I thought, it just all went downhill from there. So don't ever listen to me about Turkish football. I know nout.
Talking about signings, because we ain't got these two names down, but obviously there's not much more to say about really Masuaku. He's coming back, and he's probably not going to play much. But there's two names that we've got in the comments. First one, Danny Ings. I think we was talking about this in the group chat. Potentially us signing Danny Ings from Villa, which 30 years old, as you said, Ryan, bit of injury record on him.
Yeah, look, he's a goal scorer. He's done well wherever he's gone. But yeah, it's just that injury record. And as we said, it probably suit West Ham. Sign for West Ham and get paid while you're off injured. That seems what usually happens when we sign a striker. But I mean, I've seen a couple of names. Literally, just before I come on here, I was reading an article on TalkSport that apparently we're in for Firmino at Liverpool.
Yeah,
and we can get him for as low as 16 million. And I'm like, mate, there's no way we're going to get Firmino. So forget about that now. He'll have the best teeth in East London apart from Scott. But literally, no, that's not happening. But yeah, Danny Ings, if we could get him, I wouldn't turn my nose up at that. Definitely not.
No, the thing is, it's another one that's probably 2 years too late. We should have got him before he went to Villa. But he is a quality striker. He brings a lot to the game. He'd probably suit the way we play, in some respects. But it is that worry with the injury record. We've seen it before with a lot of players we bring in who have had poor injury records, and with to be fair, our with the likes of Antonio, who was always seemed to be injured. He's not been as injured as much. So good signing, quality striker if he's fit, and that's the thing.
Well, I can just see it now. 0-0. Scamacca comes off for Danny Ings, and all West Ham do is lump balls into the box.
Yeah. Honestly, mate, that's the thing. But I think he'll be a good player to have. I think we should go for him, to be honest.
I think we do. We definitely need another centre forward at the football club because I think we said it the other night that Scamacca come off 10, 15 minutes too early for me, and Antonio didn't really offer much. And I think Antonio looks like he's lost that little yard of pace. And I don't think he knocks players off the ball as he used to. You see when he had that little one-on-one with the Leeds defender, and the Leeds defender just sort of laughed at him. Like he didn't. And then you look at when Ben Rama put it back post and Antonio just couldn't get there, when maybe last season he would have got there.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's speed and strength, because he does get knocked off the ball a lot easier now as well, doesn't he, Antonio?
Yeah.
I've seen him, he fall over quite easy.
The funny thing is, I as we said when we were chatting about it, right? I think the Samaka substitution was 10 minutes too early, but I get why he brought Antonio on, because there was space in behind the Leeds defence.
Yeah, because they was pushing, weren't they? They was playing the high line. So
yeah, for me, he would have been better off bringing off Fornells and putting Antonio out wide, because then you've got Samaka there to try and knock the ball onto him.
And Scamacca was pressing, which was causing them problems. Obviously, helped force that error, led to the goal.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Antonio come on, and apart from clearing the ball off the line, he did absolutely nothing the time he was on the pitch. And we didn't put the ball in there. But it's frustrating. As I said, I get why he brought him on, but I just think he took off the wrong player to bring him on for.
Definitely need a striker, though. And just on Bobby Firmino, maybe Paqueta could put in a word, Brazilian connection. And I mean, that would be crazy. I mean, he seems to have been on his way out of Liverpool for a while. And I think they need a bit of money to fund, obviously, their midfield. Mm-hmm. So it's just a case of, could we convince him?
And the thing is as well, mate, if he comes in and has any impact like Jesse Lingard did, we won't be around the bottom of the table for much longer. We'll push.
Well, no, and that could help us win that Conference League, which would be huge. Something like that. Maybe that spark, something special that can come in, like you said, like Lingard at this point when we're down. A signing like that could really lift the team, the fans. When you go, Bobby Firmino.
When you see someone like Firmino walk into your dressing room, it's going to lift everyone. It's going to lift the youngsters, the fringe players of the squad, just to turn up for training every day and play with someone like Firmino, who's won near enough everything in football. So, yeah, and look, we're talking about Mark Noble as well. This is what I said to Nicky the other day. I think having Mark Noble back at the club is going to be massive for these transfers, because if you could pick anyone to sit down with a potential target and sell the club to them, what it's like to play for West Ham, be at the club, there's your man. Mark Noble's the best man for it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, do you know what? Since you brought it up, why don't we just get straight up into the into Nobes then? Actually, since it's the reason why a lot of people have clicked on the video, he's back. We saw him at Leeds. He was there up in the crowd. Did
you see the footage of him before getting off the team bus in his suit? Yeah, I'm telling you, he is a future manager of West Ham.
Scary, man. It's scary. The idea of him managing, and it's just players that you love. When they get involved, you just don't want that relationship to sour.
He looked the part, though. He got off that team bus leading the team, and it was like, yeah, mate. He looked like chewing his bubble gum. He looked like Mr. Cool. He looked like one of the Cray twins in his suit.
Yeah. So, do you think that Noble coming back, getting involved in the club, obviously he's a sporting director, do you think that could help turn our season around and give us a lift?
Yeah, I mean, look, I know he was sitting in the stands during the game, but I mean, I can imagine he was in around the changing room before the game. As you said, players might see him back in around the club, around the training ground a bit more, in the dressing room, and he will sit with players and chat to them and put his arm around their shoulder and make them feel like they're on top of the world, because there's a lot of players that were low on confidence at the moment. So having him back, look, if it has any impact on the rest of the season, might take that. He might do some jobs that David Moyes don't do. He might take that little bit of pressure off of Moyes a little bit by putting his arm around players and talking to them. So, yeah, look.
Well, like you said, the fact that he's on a team bus, and not many, you don't really see that from director of football, sporting directors getting that involved in the team. So the fact that he was on there with the players shows that he's probably going to be taking a little bit more of a closer role with the team than maybe someone in his position and other clubs normally would. So I think that could be big. And I think for Declan Rice, who, he's come under a bit of criticism this season with his captaincy and things like that. I think, Nobes he looks up to Noble. And I think that could do wonders for him and his season.
I think you're right there, Dan. I think that'll take a bit of pressure off behind the scenes, off of Rice, if you know what I mean. You know, outside of the dressing room and the football side of it. You know, being a club captain is more than just being the leader on the pitch. It's about being there on the pitch and the dressing room, being able to reach out to the players if things ain't going bad. You know, and trying to bring the side together. You know, something that Noble seemed to do very well.
Yeah, but
And
that's one thing, Scott. I've been saying for a long time about Declan Rice.
yeah,
You see it last season. He only had to be a captain on the pitch. He didn't have to do it off the pitch. He didn't have to do because you don't, as you said, you don't realise some of the stuff that captains have to do. You know, some people finish training and go home. Captains have to go to Premier League meetings and things like that, and they have to do all other bits around the football club. You know, Declan Rice shouldn't have that sort of pressure on him. Young age.
I think it's good for Deck to have that pressure. It's all a learning thing, but I think if you look at the way things were going last season, barring the later league form and everything like that, it was prime for Rice to be a captain. You know, we was in a good place. I just think because now this relegation scrap, look, Rice has been with us where we've been down there before, but this is the first time he's been there in a pressurised position of being our best player and being our captain. And, you know, just having Noble backers who's got that experience of being one of the better players and being there when the shit hits the fan as well as the good times. You know, it just relieves that little bit of pressure on Rice behind the scenes. You know, Rice has still got to do it on the pitch, and he set his standards out. And I thought we saw against Leeds the other night. You know, he was trying to drive the team on, trying to keep the team grounded.
And I see that from a lot of players on Wednesday night. I think they looked like there was a bit more together. You see when Paqueta scored his first goal, how pleased everyone was for him because they know he has been working hard. It hasn't come off yet in some games, but you know he might turn out to be a totally different player now. Paqueta, you know, he had a lot of pressure on him. He's a record signing. You know, this flair Brazilian player that's come into the Premier League. And I thought the other night, that was his best game in a West Ham shirt. Yeah. I really did.
Yeah. 100%.
And I tell you what a confident penalty that was to do a no-look penalty, a little hot skip and jump. You know, fucking hell. If I
was shitting myself, mate. When I see how he was running up, mate, I was like, no.
I didn't even realise until after they showed it from the other angle that he'd done a no-look penalty. He was looking the other way when he done it.
I didn't even notice
that is
right. Right, that was realistically, it was a no-look one-step penalty.
Exactly. And we don't get that. We don't get that at West Ham.
No.
That is definitely, like Noble's watching, and that is like the furthest thing from a Noble penalty.
But that's something like the other night. I know we only drew, and to be fair, we should have won. I think the substitutions cost us, but something like the other night could give us that little kick to spark the season now to kick on from that. Because look, if you're not going to win, don't lose. It's a good point at the end of the day at Ellen Road. You know, we've got two massive Premier League games coming up. Obviously, we've got Brentford in the Cup tomorrow, but Everton and Wolves. Wolves and Everton. Wolves away, Everton at home. You know, if we could get 6 points there, I think you'll find us pulling away from the bottom of the table and start looking up.
I mean, yeah, I just worry because I've been to Wolves like every season, and every season I've seen us lose there. That is such a tough ground for us. It really is.
Ellen Road used to be the same.
Huh?
Ellen Road used to be the same. We never got results there. But
in recent seasons, you know, I was saying about Wolves and West Ham. I don't know what it is. They're just.
Yeah, I think Molineux's always because the way the away fans are set out, you can't really get an atmosphere there. So yeah, it's always a difficult ground, and you know they're a tough team, Wolves. You know they've got some decent players, but if we could somehow just find that little bit of form, and just pick up a few results, then yeah, I think we'll start moving up the table. Hopefully, it was a turning point. A couple of new signings.
Yeah, no, that's it. The site, that's what I was just about to talk about. Actually, we'll take some comments in a minute. But Noble, obviously, another big impact that he potentially make is in this transfer window. As the director of football talks about his first player that he's identified as a striker Terran Moffi, Nigerian international. I think he's like 23, 24. He's got 10 goals and 16 in League One or League On. And left-footed striker. Also play on the wing. Very interesting if that is someone that Noble's identified and come in and say,
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really know too much about him. When I looked him up and I see the team he played for, I always get confused because I think he's always think that's Leyton Orient. Thinking, are we looking down in League One now for players or League Two, wherever they are? But no, look, as you say, I don't really know much about him, but sometimes these signings that you don't know much about always sometimes work out good signings. You know,
I think Phil in the comments, Phil, it's on it. Could be a new Sacco. We didn't know nothing about Sacco when he joined the club. And all right, things in the end weren't great, but when we signed him, what a top quality striker he turned out to be.
But this is going to be very interesting if Noble is now coming in and getting involved in the transfer window to see what players is he looking at with obviously Rob Newman. They're probably working together with Moyes. What players are they looking at? Obviously, Nobes is probably going to be helping negotiate some of these deals. So just seeing who we're getting and getting things over the line, seeing if it can make a difference. I don't expect us to splash money this window. So shrewd deals are going to be really key.
Yeah.
And to see the impact that has on the team, because we spent a lot of money in August and we've started poorly. I think all three of us still probably have good feelings about the players that we signed, but for whatever reason, it hasn't worked. So whatever impact Nobes can make with these signings and hopefully find maybe that one player or something that just ties it all together, is that missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle that just, makes things click.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is the only worrying thing for me is that, again, are we looking to sign players that the manager doesn't want? I get, you have scouts and things like that recommend players to the managers and stuff like that. I just don't know, because for me, you can't tell what system we brought the players that we got in the summer to play. Again, are we bringing in players that the manager doesn't want, or are these players that the manager does want, who Noble's been out scouting while he's been unemployed, so to speak?
Yeah, it's Moyes has always said, and look, just because he said it don't mean it's true, but he's always maintained that he has final say on all transfers and the buck stops at him. So I think if he's going to say that, then I'm taking him at his word and putting that on his sense, because they've had previous, Sullivan, as we've saying, and even Big Sam has come out and said that that's what he would do. You turn up and there's a player, go, there you go, and he go, I don't even want this player. So I think there's a good reason fans have to believe that, but Moyes has said he was taking control, and I do believe him to a degree. In January, from what I heard, Sullivan was really trying to get him to take this, that, and the other player. Moyes was like, no, I want to wait till I want to make sure we get the right player. So Noble hopefully makes a big impact. What do you reckon, Mike?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, and that might be a reason why we're seeing some of the youngsters come back as well, because Noble would have identified them as, look, they're good enough to be in and around the first team. So obviously Okaflex come back today. He's going to be involved because he can't go out on loan. So I
saw something about that, right? Just on that Okaflex, I was looking a bit today when it came out. I see some Swansea fans said he didn't get much of a chance, but when he came on, he was exciting. And they was a bit amused of why he didn't get more game time.
Yeah, and they're probably even more disappointed now that West Ham have called him back, because he is, Noble spoke very highly of him last season, and so did Declan Rice. So there might be something in that, is why Noble he's back at the club, and I know he's going to be working very closely with the academy. So I think you might, over the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see a lot more youngsters being involved within the first team.
Yeah, and let's be honest, with the performances we've had with our current left backs defensively, you might as well give this kid a go. Do you know what I mean? Creswell's past it now. He needs to be shipped out the door. Kehrer ain't your answer at left back. We saw how poor he was against Leeds. So let's be honest, Okaflex could come in and he can't do any worse.
Well, you'd play him at left back.
Yeah, mate. The kid's done when he's played there before. He's done all right. You know, you don't with these youngsters. If you don't give them a chance, you're never going to know. You know, we threw Ben Johnson in at left back playing against Manchester City at the time when Manchester City were putting 4 or 5 past us.
I think he'd be one of those ones though that's more because he's more of a winger, isn't he? He'd probably be more that's less defensive minded. Maybe you play him as a wing back if we do want to play that system.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he played
left back, did he, Scott?
Sorry, mate.
I don't think he played left back for us, did he? You think of Longello?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm thinking Longello.
That's what I think. Okaflex.
Yeah, because I think he can play on the wing.
Yeah, Okaflex is a winger. Sorry, wrong guy.
That's what I was thinking. Is he thinking outside the box here? That's why I said it's
very
defensive. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what the youngsters can do. But it tells you a bit like that. Noble probably wants to get more involved in the youngsters, but also we're probably not going to be doing too much business this transfer window. So maybe we want to see what we've got with the youngsters.
Me and Nicky sort of said this the other night. I think if anything's going to happen in the transfer window, it will be maybe a couple of loans. But I said they're not always a bad thing, you know, or maybe a couple of free transfers. You know, we spent a lot of money in the summer, so I don't think this squad needs too many players added to it. I think there's some good players at the football club. Unfortunately, at the moment, they're not being managed right. So, and the tactics ain't right. But a couple of new faces in that dressing room, you know, a couple of new voices, you know, it could all change.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get some comments in on Nobes. Steve. I'll get to yours after the Nobe stuff. So Irons here says Noble will be a Sullivan puppet, which is a bit harsh. I
can't see that, to be honest. I really can't.
I mean, it depends on what you consider his role to be. Is his role going to be? He's not an ambassador. I mean, he probably has that aspect, but his job is to try and help get players in, and obviously it's going to be liaising between Moyes and the manager. I don't think he's done himself any favours in an interview when he's come out and sort of dismissed people that want Nobes out as just sort of internet trolls or people that are. I don't think, and I know what he's trying. He's trying to take heat and pressure off of Moyes and things like that. But I think that can sort of rub up certain fans the wrong way because I think the Moyes sentiment has turned beyond that now. I think it's it's been a poor season. I mean, what did you lads make of that? The comment from Nobes when he said that.
Go on, Scott.
No, go on. Why go on?
He was just saying, wasn't he, about like people that wanted Moyes.
Yeah, he's obviously got. Look, at the end of the day, whether people think he's going to be a Sullivan puppet or not, he is employed by Sullivan. So it's like any of us going to work and coming out in the public or social media and slagging off our bosses, you know. So he's got to be careful with what he says, but we all know deep down in the heart that Mark Noble's a West Ham fan through and through. He loves the football club, you know. So I can't see him being a puppet. I don't think he'd be a yes man. I think he will put his points across. Whether they get listened to, that's a different thing. But I can't see him bending over and taking it like some have.
There's no way you can sit there and say that Noble will be a puppet to Sullivan. You know, Noble's been outspoken before. With
more so in recent times as well. Yeah.
He was very outspoken with the sale of
Diagana.
Yeah. That definitely weren't a puppet then.
No, and that's the thing for me. And the thing is, I know Sullivan's the main shareholder, right? He's the main owner of the club. But who's to say this appointment is solely based down to Sullivan? You know, there's other people there in the board, you know, who have an opinion. You know, what's to say it's a Sullivan? And this is the thing. What's to say it's a Sullivan employment?
Well, yeah, I think Noble was always going to come back and be involved. The fans wanted it. All the fans wanted him to be on the coaching team or to be involved in some way or the other. Noble's obviously suggested. I think he's done his, he's gone and done his qualifications, all that. He's decided that this is an area that he really wants to work in. He was going to have a job at the club no matter what. So I don't think Sullivan sort of handpicked him and go, oh, this is my boy. It was just always going to happen. So yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he's not going to be slagging off the owners. I don't think anyone should expect him to, because at the end of the day, that's your job. But do right by the club.
And the thing is, as well, sorry, mate, I was just going to say quickly, this is a learning for Mark Noble as well. This is a totally different role. He's been a football player for over 20 odd years, so he's going into a different job, a different career. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't see him going down this route. I always thought he was going to go into maybe the coaching side of things, but I'm not saying he's never going to not do that. But it's a big job for him to take on, and he's going to be learning off of the people working around him. So
it's a bit, it's an important role, but there's less pressure.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
A lot of people think that they're just gifted Mark Noble this role just to keep him happy and keep him at the football club. I'm hoping that he proves them wrong and he does a good job. I really do.
He'll put everything into it. That's without a doubt. He'll give his all for that job. There's no two ways about it. So let's, so Gary says, should we be relying on Mark Noble? We at West Ham always look backwards. If Nobes help, great, but not good on Moyes if we have to go to Nobes to motivate the players. What do you think? Yeah, do you think it undermines Moyes in any way by having to have Nobes come in and G him up when he's not even on the coaching team? At the end of the day, he's a director of football, and he's coming in talking to the players, and Moyes ain't been able to get through. And does it undermine him in any way?
I'll be honest with you, mate. I think David Moyes would have had a big say in him coming back to the football club, and I think Moyes actually wanted him back at the football club. They had a good relationship as manager and captain. And Moyes has always had good things to say about Noble, and vice versa. Noble's always had good things to say about Moyes. So I think if David Moyes would welcome the appointment of Mark Noble, I think if there was any doubt, he might have said, look, I don't think it's the right move. But
yeah, I don't think it undermines Moyes at all. One bit. It's not. Yeah, he's not on the coaching team, but it's one of, when you look at it's one of the lads who's been in and around that squad of players for the whole time them players have been at this football club. It's somebody who knows the football club inside out better than any of them players will ever know the football club.
Well, not only that, Scott, he's been at that club longer than the owners, the players that are there now, the staff. Not obviously, there are probably some staff that have been there a lot longer, like who work behind the scenes, but Noble's been there since he was a boy. He knows that football club, as you said, inside out.
And that's the thing. He's not going to be going into the players or speaking to the players and telling them something completely different to what the manager's telling them. It's just having.
But that might not be a bad thing at the moment.
But it's just having that figure around the football club that is the football club. That embodies the football club, that embraces the football club, that bleeds the football club. That's what Noble gives you.
Mr. Mason is. It's
not going well at the football club at the moment. So anything they try, anything that can help improve the spirit of the squad, help us, find a bit of form, then I'm all for it. I don't care if they bring in fucking witch doctors and we've got to go in the old school where you got someone pisses in each corner flag before a game or something like that, like the old days. Anything.
Yeah, it's we need something, honestly, and but this is it, and whatever works. I mean, quite a few people are saying it's sort of a bad look on the players if they need Mark Noble to, Mr. Mason saying as a cheerleader to get motivated. Quite a few people are saying it shows how bad things are. I mean, of course, you hope that players are already motivated, or sometimes it's a confidence thing. Sometimes it's a psychological sport, football, as much as it is a physical sport. And having someone there, and when I think when people hear the word motivated, it makes you feel like, how can they not be motivated? This is football. But when you get in your head and you're losing, things not going, there's self-doubt, there's motivation is just lifting players up, their spirits, and coming in and saying, "Listen, pick them up, put an arm around them. You're good."
That's what I'm saying. The thing, it don't matter what you do in life, whether you're a football player or whatever. If you're feeling low and someone comes up to you and says something like, it gives you a little boost. Someone puts their arm around you. If you do something well and someone praises you, it makes you feel 10 foot tall. So sometimes that's all it needs. Little things like that can change just the way people turn up for training each day. Because there'll be players that go into training, wake up in the morning, and I know people go, "Oh, but they get paid 100 grand a week." Forget all that. If you're losing and you're low on confidence and you're getting negative stuff said about you in the press and on social media, it can affect you. So if you look at last season at the training ground, how different it was when we was winning and we was flying. There's still a good spirit at that training ground. You see that in the videos they put out, but it's on the pitch. That's where it looks like it's not clicking at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. This is an interesting one, actually. And so Tony Hammer Ryan says, "I bet Noble comes in and manages the last 10 games like Brooking did some seasons ago, just a fault." Yeah, I mean, we won't get too much into the Moyes getting sacked because we've talked about that to death. But the idea that if he does, the possibility of Nobes stepping, because he has done his coaching badges as far as I know. If it came to, because they want to stick with him a bit longer. What do you think about the prospect of Nobes and then getting a permanent manager in the summer, but Nobes taking over for like the last 10 games or so?
Well, it depends, then, what position we're in. Because if we get to the last 10 games and we're sort of sitting around 7th, 8th, and we're still in Europe and that, it'd be very harsh to sack David Moyes when you didn't sack him when we was in the bottom 3. So, I can't be in the shit. I mean, one day I'd like to see Noble take over as manager, but in years to come, I don't. Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to ask you, if they did say we was in the shit, right, and they sacked him, and we've got 10 games left, would you rather say have Noble take over to the end of the season, or try and find a proper man, like a permanent manager or something?
Listen, Trevor Brooking nearly kept us up. He went on an amazing run. And when you look at Brooking's record, even in the Championship when he was there before Pardew, he didn't lose too many games. And having someone like a Brooking come in at the time lifted the players that were there because they looked at him as, that's Mr. West Ham. That's one of the West Ham legends there. So, yeah, it could have an effect like that. Would I be against it? Of course not. I'd love to see Mark Noble stand on that touchline, one day. But let's just hope we don't have to go down that road too soon.
It does seem like one of them great short-term options that you see, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's and all of that you think for a short bit of time lifts everyone, unites everyone, and then you go on a run. But then sometimes they'll like Ollie, permanent contract, and then it all goes.
But the thing is, Dan, you look at the other aspect of it. Alan Shearer went to Newcastle.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, and he got
When I'll be honest, if we're 10 games left to go and we're in that bottom 3, I want us to go and get a manager that's going to get us out of them bottom 3, and not look for the sentiment. It worked with Brooking. It didn't work with Brooking, did it? Let's be honest. And he had a great run. It was just unfortunate that everyone else down there around us was picking up points. But 10 games to go, you chuck Moyes out the door. You've got to be looking at someone like Sean Dyche to come in and keep you up till the end of the season.
Which is like he would want. I think he's holding out for the Everton job, Dyche. I think.
He's got
a short-term job with us.
Yeah, but that's the type of manager you want. I don't really want to see Sean Dyche manage our football club. If he does, then I'll get behind him. But I was hoping our days of them type of managers were gone.
Well, he'd be the last of the dying breed because we've had Allardyce, then Moyes, then Dyche.
Yeah,
I mean we can't get the old West Brom manager Pulis.
Yeah.
So Steve Bruce is out there. We could get Steve Bruce. I know you mean.
By the way, I didn't say we got relegated because of Trevor Brooking.
Yeah, you did, Scott.
No, I didn't.
You ate
us up, did he?
No, it's one of those things, and I think we wouldn't. Our players wouldn't suit. I like Daesh as a bloke. He has a good personality and all that. I think he's a good manager, but I don't think we've got the team that suits him. Which
Dan, you'd have to do every watch along in Sean Dyche's voice.
I don't. Yeah, everyone would be saying I look like him. You got the old three hammers here are saying. I'm talking about Noble. How long will his role last with takeover potentially later this year? Obviously, there's a lot of rumours about potential takeovers on the horizon. Yeah, I mean I think if you're new owners coming in buying the club, you need players like Mark Noble to stay in those positions to help with that transition. People that know the club and have a connection with the fans. I think just sacking everyone that's at the club and just putting your own people in there, I don't think it works. I think for them, a smart decision, if Noble's doing a decent job, unless he's doing a terrible job in that role, keep him in it. It's a PR win and it helps that transitional period, and he will be able to help educate them on the club and teach them about the fans and that. So they'd be mad if they took over to get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously we don't know the ownership at the moment. Obviously, it's all up in the air. Like, obviously, with what happened earlier in the week with David Gold passing away.
Yeah, we'll talk about that soon.
Yes, you don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, we know. I think that automatically his daughter will come into that role. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. But with what I'm hearing is that like Sullivan wants out now. He wants to sell up. So him and David Gold worked together for a very long time. So you might see within the next year new owners at the football club because Krasinski's already there. So I'm sure there's people will jump at the chance to buy the football club off of Sullivan when he puts his remaining shares up for sale. So yeah, there could be a lot of movement. So that's why we still need to get a Premier League team. Huh?
Do you think they'd sack? What do you think though? If we do get new owners and Noble's position at the club, do you think it'd be at risk, or do you think most clubs see it as
the worst thing you want to do as new owners is to come in and sack a hero, a legend at the football
Mr.
club.
West. Buy West Ham, sack Mr. West Ham. Yeah,
they might as well go outside and knock the statue down of Bobby Moore and Jeff Hurst and Martin Peters and change the name of the Brookings stand and all that, because that's what it'd feel like. So they'd as you said, they'd want someone like Noble to be around the football club, because these new owners that come in, unless they're avid football fans that have followed West Ham for years, they're probably not going to know a lot about the football club. So they want to know what do the fans want? What does this club mean to the community? So you want people like Mark Noble. You have to have people like Mark Noble around the football club.
Yeah, 100%, mate. We've got Steve, good old Steve, with an 899 super chat. Cheers, Steve. Hope you're having a good evening, my friend. He said, any truth in the rumor that Cornet went on holiday to the Bermuda Triangle? It seems like it's the Bermuda Triangle, but apparently he's gone to Paris to see a specialist because he has an ultra rare injury or condition or something like that, which is as West Ham as it gets.
Do you know what? I see this earlier in the week, and when he come out and said that he's got an ultra rare injury that this doctor's only seen twice in the last 25 years, I thought, I bet whoever had it before played for West Ham. Yeah, I just don't know how this even happens at West Ham. How can you say he's got an ultra rare injury that like the doctor's only seen twice in 25 years?
See,
sums us up.
I see somewhere that Burnley fans were sort of mentioning about this when he come to the club, and it's one of those. How has this got through a medical without? Do you know what I mean?
Well, if there was the easiest medical team, unless it's Charlie Austin, everyone.
No, I mean, it's
Scott. Yeah. If this club can give long contracts to Carroll and Wilshire, I think anyone can sign for this football club. Honestly.
Bloody hell. I mean, look, this is what he's put out on Instagram, Cornell. I'll just read out his statement. He said, the disappointment is big. Disappointed not to be able to return the love you showed me when I joined the West Ham family. The road is long, but the end is near. That's positive. Thank you all for your many messages. Rehabilitation is going very well. See you soon. Happy New Year, everyone. Love, Maxi. There's no obviously time frame. You hear words like soon. Is soon weeks, months? You know,
Years.
yes, yeah, exactly. Oh my god, and it's a shame. He looked brilliant. You know, when I see it.
I got a funny feeling he'll be our new signing come the summer. You know what I mean? You feel for him because he's an exciting player, and you see the fit. Do you know what I mean? In that type of player, a direct, pacey, quick player, someone who's going to look across the ball into the box for a Samaka, and it's frustrating, really, really frustrating. You feel for the guy.
There's someone that ain't been at the football club long. You know, when I know it didn't count, but when he scored that equaliser against Chelsea, the passion he showed, and you know, when he run over celebrating like he'd been at the club years, you know, and I thought to myself, yeah, do you know what? Once he gets settled, we've been crying out for someone with pace and who wants to take players on, and he turns out he's got the only fucking second injury that this doctor's only ever seen in the last 25 years, whatever it is.
I just hope it don't affect his pace and his game, because he's a player that you know is so pacey and enjoys to play like that. I hope when he does come back, he just can come back as he was and it don't affect him. That's the worry for me. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, because I do like Cornet and I think he can be a very good player for us.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's just written there, as Ryan got Elvis written on his t-shirt. No, it says Levi's, but you can't spell Levi's without Elvis. If you rearrange the letters, it does spell Elvis.
It says Elvis in dyslexia.
Yeah. That's how I spell Elvis when I'm drunk.
Yeah. But Walker 11, who's a regular viewer, 449 super chat. Thank you very much, mate. Hope you're having a good evening. He says, Daesh, please, no more 1980s style coaches. Let's move into the 21st century. The outdated management, facilities, recruitment has finally caught up. Yeah.
Dan, that don't even say 1980s. That says 1880s.
1880s.
That's even further back than Doc Brown went in the DeLorean in Back to the Future 3. That's how long ago that is.
Jeez, that's like back in the early days of the sport.
That's why we had Graham on here tonight. He could have told us about 1880s style football. He was fucking 20 when that was happening. But
yeah, I fully agree, though.
Look, I don't want to. Obviously, Moyes is still in the job, but like when you look at some of the managers that are out of work, you know, Sean Dyche is not top of my list of ones that I would want to come in. There's a few more in front of him but it's realistic. Who can we get? So, but yeah, let's go on.
No, I was going to say, like I said the other day, you know, you look at Brighton's manager. No one had ever heard of him, right? He's come in and he's picked up where Potter left off and then some. They look brilliant. They've done their scouting, they've done their research and got this bloke from Shakhtar Donetsk, and he's a good manager. So, obviously, us as fans, we don't have time to watch all the leagues around the world. No. But Rob Newman and Noble and that's their job. That's what they get paid for. So I'd hope that they're not just looking at the obvious names, but they're really doing their own work and going, you know what, this guy in this league, his style of play will just suit our team to a T, you know.
The thing you have to be careful of though with Dan is, you know, what Potter left. When did Potter leave? Season? Yeah. New managers come in and Brighton are doing exactly what they were doing under Potter. You know, you get this. Glenn Roeder come in and took over a West Ham side and finished 7th. Then when he started imprinting his own signings, we get relegated. You know, it's that first season and when a manager's been there and the manager's
it was Trevor Brooking that relegated us, not Roeder.
It weren't Trevor Brooking that relegated.
You've already had your pop at Trevor Brooking. Don't try and backtrack now.
So you know when you got to be careful of that with players coming in. You know, looking at it as you said, it's an ideal replacement. You know, without watching Brighton week in week out. You know, I don't know whether they've changed the style of play, whether they've changed tactics or anything like that. But from an outside looking in, they're doing a similar job to what they were doing under their previous.
You know, one name that hasn't really been mentioned, and I didn't even think about him till the other day, and he's out of work, and he's only recently been sacked. And I know, take away the 2 9-0 defeats, the old Southampton manager, Hasenhüttl, I think he could be a good shout. because he got some good, like, he done well at Southampton, and he played some good football. He tried to play attacking football. He just didn't have the right players. So for him to come in, he might have the right players at West Ham. I know he obviously had the 2 9-0 defeats, which gets mentioned a lot, but yeah, you never know, mate. You never know.
Yeah, but that's it. That's why you look at Newman and able to really do their research and look obviously beyond the surface level that us as football fans look and go in and analyze. Okay, why did it go wrong for Hassan Hootel? What were those extenuating circumstances? Was it his fault? If he had our players out, really analyze that. That's what they should be doing. So yeah, I agree, mate. Ryan, you sort of touched on it earlier, and that's something we had to talk to was David Gold, obviously passed away this week. I did a video earlier in the week, just sharing my condolences, and I obviously shared it on behalf of all you lot, but you guys are here now, obviously, you talk about your feelings, and then we'll get in, and I didn't want to talk about it at that time, but we'll talk a little bit about, like you said, Ryan, what it could mean for West Ham.
It's and it was a great video you done the other day, and it summed up, spoke well for all of us. And look, we've known that David Gold's been ill for a little while, and even when it does happen, it's still a bit of a shock to read it. And look, whatever you think of the owners, at the end of the day, he's a father, a granddad. It's sad. It is sad, and I always felt every time I was in his company and I met him, he was always, he was a good bloke. He always had time for you. It didn't matter whether you was a millionaire or just a fan off the street. He'd talk to you and treat you the same. And as I said, when things like this happen, you got to take away your feelings and emotion of what's gone on at the football club, and however you think they've run it, it's still sad. And it wasn't good news to read. And you know what? I've seen so many great posts and comments about it, but I've seen some awful ones as well. I'm not going to give the people the airtime, but some of these people just need to have a look at themselves. At the end of the day, he's still a human. And as Nick just said there, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. And it is still someone's dad, still someone's granddad, so.
And like I said, it's football. And this is you put football aside, and like we said, you look at the human element, the family, Yeah,
no, you right. The way you guys have summed it up is perfect. He was a nice guy. When he spoke about West Ham, he spoke about West Ham with a passion, as fans do. And my man had a few interactions with him on the circuit when my dad was the mayor and things like that. So it's just a sad. He's, like you said, people that are digging at him at this sort of time. It's not right. His family's lost their father, their grandfather. He was a West Ham fan, and he lived the dream. He owned a football club that he supported from a youngster.
I remember he was born bang opposite the ground, wasn't he? 442 Green Street. I know we all laughed about it when he keeps repeating it, but he was, and he played for the kids as a schoolboy and a youth team. And as you said, he went on to end up owning the football club that he supported and loved. And listen, everyone in this chat and everyone around the world would love to be in that position to own the football club you love. First of all, you want to play for them, and then you'd love to own them, but. Yeah, no, it's still sad to read things like that, whatever your feelings are.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just going to drop out, so I need to go and get my charger.
All right, mate.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Go on, yeah, so that's it. And as I said, the big thing for me is it was hoping that there would be a nice, end to the story, which is always them. Because I always saw them as temporary custodians that could then facilitate us getting a sale to a bigger club, and a bigger owners. And then I think that puts their legacy in a better light because they've taken us on and go, okay, they've kept this club stable from where we were. We was in trouble financially, stabilized us. Obviously, a lot of bad things that we don't agree with went on, but the nice out is they've left us in a really strong place with really rich owners and sold us. That was.
I mean, when they come into the football club, you know, we was on the verge of going out of business, and they've come in and they as everyone knows, they saved us. Whatever's gone on in the second part of their ownership, they did. And you know, not a lot of people know that West Ham treated Bobby Moore like shit. And when he was out of work and he had hardly any money, Sullivan and Gold employed him to work for him, and they looked after Bobby Moore. You know, and not a lot of fans really know that. You know, and the way West Ham treated Bobby Moore when he was alive was disgusting, and they jumped on this whole Bobby Moore thing after he passed away. You know, used his name. Everyone knows that. But yeah, I just feel like it's a sad way. And as you said, whatever position we're in their eyes, in a business point of view, where they picked us up from, and then they look at us now, we've got near a 65,000 seater stadium. You know, the facilities we've got, whether we like that stadium or not, we are in a better position. We'd all love to be back at Upton Park, but we're not, and that's never going to happen. But in their eyes, they thought that was what they was doing best for West Ham and the football club. Just as us fans, we don't feel like that, but that's how they saw it. But as I said, whatever feelings I had towards them, and I said to you, Dan, didn't I, after you done that video, I reminded you of a funny story of when me and you met David Gold at Upton Park. We was at a function and David Gold was there, Julian Dix, and Sam Byron was there because he just signed. And me and Dan was talking to David Gold, having a good chat with him, telling him about the channel and that. And all of a sudden, this random drunk woman come over and just started proper talking to David Gold, but right close to him. And he just stepped back. He looked at him and went, "Cool, you've had a few Baileys in you." And it was things like that. He was just, even though he was a millionaire or whatever he was, he still had that East End roots in him and that East End banter. And yeah, it is sad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, with the club, it seems to be like you alluded to earlier, obviously, in terms of ownership of his shares, you know, his daughters are in line to inherit those shares. What I believe will happen, his son-in-law, Dan Cunningham, is on the board. So I think what will happen is he will get control of those shares. I don't know whether his daughters will come and take a seat on the board in place of his father. I think the son-in-law will probably control those shares and run it. Who's Dan Cunningham, who actually commented on the video, our video the other day, which he wrote a nice tribute to Gold. I'll read that out. He said, "Thank you for your kind message and video you left." He said, "An incredibly sad day, and we are all still coming to terms with his passing. He loved West Ham and only ever wanted to do the best for the football club. The outpouring of kindness and positivity yesterday really gave us comfort on an otherwise terribly sad day. He was a very special person and we are going to miss him terribly. Thank you again for your words. I'll pass them on to Jacqueline, Vanessa, and our daughter, Scarlett Rose. Best wishes, Dan Cunningham." So he, you know, which is nice. And Nicky was telling me he's a big West Ham fan. So in the short term, he'll probably be in charge of them shares, you know. So at the moment, until a sale happens, and if he is a West Ham fan, he seems to watches YouTube. I was really surprised to see that. And he was like,
the thing is, if he's got a seat there already, you know, or you know, he was there on the day-to-day dealings with what Gold was doing within the football club and all that. It's good to that, you know, that it's in safe hands with someone like that, who again is another fan of the club. You know,
I think their intentions are probably be looking to sell as soon as they can. As I said, Sullivan's not a well man either.
No,
you know, so he's going to want to get out like within the next year, I reckon. So yeah, I think we're maybe within the next year to 18 months, we should have new owners at the football club.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing is with Dan Cunningham, the fact that he's a lot younger. So we'll probably, because the thing is, I think with Gold in the later years, I think for him, it was, you know, going to watch West Ham and seeing, I don't think he was actively going out there doing deals, getting involved. You know, Sullivan still does that. So to have someone younger who can help facilitate that, who has that spark, could help with that. And like you say, I think that you alluded earlier, Sullivan probably, he's getting to that age now. He probably wants out and wants to retire. And there's plenty of interest when it comes to owners. Kretinsky's obviously increased his stakes in the club. So hopefully having someone there younger involved can really help, who is a West Ham fan, who is a younger West Ham fan, can help make sure we get the right people in owning the club.
You could see with Gold, he's always been a West Ham fan. There's never been any doubt about he was a fan of the club. It's his boyhood club. And when you hear like Moyes saying he was always coming down to the training ground, he was living the life of a fan who's an owner of a football club. Who owns his boyhood club and wants to be there, and that's why it was a good thing that he was, one of the good things about him part owning the club. And said it may be that the daughters don't want a lot of doing with it, and like you said, let the son-in-law do it. If he's been there as sort of Gold's right-hand man in the latter years, he knows what Gold wanted in the best interest of the football club. So hopefully he can continue going down that road.
Yeah, and just looking at the some of the comments in the chat now, I'm not even going to put them up but like some people think we're being hypocrites because we're now all of a sudden like we're licking arses, as some people like to say. We've been slagging GSB off, but we're not saying that. We are saying what they've done in the football club, but we're talking about human beings. We are human beings at the end of the day. So we're just putting our feelings, how they run the football club, to one side. There's more to life than football. Let's just put it that way. So if you wanna jump on Twitter or Instagram and you wanna be happy that a man's died, then I'm sorry, you've got a sad, pathetic life, and that's how I feel.
Yes, and that's it. There's empathy. It's empathy, and we look at that, and you got to put things aside and go, do you know what? At the end of the day, this is someone's life and this is someone's family. And it's a sad thing. We're not going to sit here and celebrate or anything. And like I said, of course, you criticize people. I think we've always kept it football. You criticize someone over their decisions of what they do running your football club. And football fans, we're a tough audience because we want the best for our club. Now they're in a position where every one of their decisions is going to get scrutinized, and we as a channel, we put ourselves in a position where we scrutinize those decisions, and we'll say what we don't agree with. There's a lot. The sale of Upton Park, as Ryan alluded to earlier, he said it. We didn't like that. The migration was wrong. A lot of decisions that have been made along the way, we have called out, but it doesn't mean we're not going to show respect at the end of the day, because this is someone who's been a big part of our football club. And he was looked at as I don't want to say lesser of two evils, because evil's the wrong word, but Gold was looked at in the fan base a lot more favourably than Sullivan. I think Gold was largely the money, but the thing is about Gold is he put himself a lot of the time front and center. He would do the talking, and I think that's probably what hurt his reputation a lot, because he would go out there and do the interviews a lot of the time and interact with people on Twitter and talk to fans and things like that. And a lot of the time, I think that shot him back in the foot doing that. But look, we're not going to sit here and say and shit on someone that's died. Like I said, I did a video there. If, his family's obviously seen the video. I'd imagine I'm shitting on him and that, and how they'd feel. You got to think about it.
And that's the thing, mate. Like you done a video and it was seen by some of the family members, and they've probably seen a lot of stuff. But then they have to look at the negative stuff on there as well. And imagine having to read some of that stuff. I mean, some of the stuff I've read is just like it embarrasses me sometimes to think that. And they're not even, some of them not even fake accounts. Some of these people are like with their proper profile pictures with pictures of their kids in there with them. And I'm thinking, you're a 40, 50-year-old man and you want to go on there and say things like that. It's just not right. as I said, you've got to put some things aside. As I said, I don't agree with the way the football club was run. And yes, we wanted them to go. Did I want him to pass away? Of course I don't. Of course I don't. You know, I just don't. Things like that just.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's people in life that you look at that do very, very evil things that you wouldn't bat an eyelid, and you probably think the world would be better without them. Sullivan, Gold, and Brady, right, haven't done anything that says they deserve to die, that we would celebrate them dying. And as much as Brady, Sullivan, you know, there's a lot of we've said a lot of stuff against them, a lot of bad feelings. Doesn't mean we think they deserve to die. We just want them to not own our football club. That's it. That's what it comes down to. We don't think that these people should own our football club. We want owners that can take West Ham forward. That's all it is. It's strictly football. So it's not hypocritical to then go and say, you know, really sad, you know, respect for his life. You know, he had some good times. Let's look on the positives as well as the negatives. Because like I said the other day in my video, it's not all negatives. You focus on the negatives because that's what really affects your football club. So we talk and we shout out the negatives. We have given them praise in the past when they've done right. Recently, even we give them praise for spending the money in the summer. We're not one-sided. We call out the bad and we'll praise the good.
Exactly, but that's the difference. We can. Some people can't.
Yeah,
we can speak from both sides. You know, if they do well, we'll say they've done well. If they do bad, we'll call them out. Some people just a bit like I don't know, a bit like David Moyes, you know.
Exactly. It's no different to the team, to the manager, to the players. You criticise when you think they're doing something wrong and not performing or not doing what's in the best interest. But then when they do something that is the right thing to do, or they're performing right, or they're doing something in the best interest for the football club, you can't just be negative and focus on the negatives all the time. You've got to have a balanced view, and some people can't. Some people can't have a balanced view. It's just, you know, they've got their mindset that's set in stone. That's what they choose to do.
Yeah. It's same like Moyes. I've said Moyes out. I've criticised Moyes heavily all season. If he died, I'd be upset, you know, and I'd be, you know, I think that's a sad bit of news, and I would go and say and praise the things that he done, and go, let's look on the positives he done for the club, because, you know, like Nick said, you're not going to talk ill on the dead. You're not going to sit there and start to say all the bad things. But Moyes, I just want a different manager. Yeah. If Moyes died, I'm going to be, you know, upset. I didn't want him to die. I just want him a different manager in.
Spot on, mate. It's like, but I mean, just before we move on, obviously, there's sad news as well come out today about Gianluca Vialli, who passed away. Very shocking, very shocking. I know he's been ill last couple of years, but it's still shocking. And wow, some of the, like, I've got no connections with Chelsea or never met Vialli. You know, I was lucky enough to see him play against West Ham, but I've never met him. But some of the stories I've been reading, even I've been close to tears. You know, it's a sad loss. As I said, I've never met him. But I was lucky enough to see him play in a great game at Upton Park. We beat Chelsea 3-2. And he scored that night as well. He actually put Chelsea 1-0 up. But yeah, what a player, what a man. And it's sad. 58 is no age.
Yeah, no age, is it? You know what I mean? It's no age, that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know whether it's awareness, like now with social media, or you're just constantly, every other day you're hearing about someone.
Do you know what? I love England, and I would do anything to see England win a trophy. But when they showed the images tonight of when Mancini and Vialli hugged after they beat England at Wembley to win the Euros, I'd take that one on the chin just to let that man have that moment, I think, because it was it's a sad day for football. You know, I've not seen anyone say a bad word against him. You know, it's just it was a bit of a shock reading it this morning. You know, you just don't think, you know, you think it's like Pele, innit? You think these people are going to go on forever, but it's and he was good mates with Paolo Di Canio as well. So, you know, a bit of a connection there. And he was the first Italian manager in the Premier League. I think he's actually one of Chelsea's most successful managers, apart from Mourinho. think he's the next one down who's won the most trophies for Chelsea. So,
wow,
Man.
that's quite that's an interesting.
When you hear all the stories about him, it makes you think. I wish I met him. You know, because he just seemed like such a down to earth. Not even when I've seen him do punditry on BBC and Sky, he just come across as a genuine bloke who loved football and passionate for football.
And you'll see a lot. I think you'll see a lot of stories and things like that come out in the coming days. A lot of tributes and things like that. So really, really sad news of football legend passing away. We definitely send my condolences to the family on that. So it's a sad one. So I guess we've wrap it up there. I guess we've got a preview coming out for the Brentford FA Cup game. We're getting into a lot of stuff with that of do we need to be in the FA Cup right now, all of that stuff, and our chances. So look out for that. But anything else, lads, you wanted to touch on?
No, I don't think there's much left to talk about. I think we've covered most of the topics this week. Yeah, nice. I wish it had been a bit more of a cheery show towards the end, but
yeah.
Sometimes you have to speak about these things, and it's part of life, unfortunately. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Sadly, we can't have any control over that. So no, but
just quickly, Ken Hammers. Yeah, that was the game, mate. VR. Yeah, Paul Kitson scored the winner. I remember Ian Dowie nodding it down and Kitson somehow flicking it in, but yeah, it was a good game under the lights at Upton Park. I'll never forget that game. It was beating Chelsea back then. We didn't really beat Chelsea that much.
No.
I remember Mark Hughes, like he got some towering header at the back post, like Ludo just went flying into the back of the net. But 2 from Kitson and Dixie. Great game.
Cheers for that, Ken Hammers. And where's Graham? If you see him, tell us. We don't know.
He's gone on the missing list. I only spoke to him the other day. He ain't replied to any of my messages or anything.
No, you think something's popped back on his life and he's disappeared.
Don't worry, Scott. He wants a lift to football on Monday, so I'm sure I'll hear from him Sunday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh, I've got to buy him some tickets. So thank you everyone for watching. Do leave it a like on your way out, and yes, look out for the preview for Brentford fan cam. Watch along if the game's on telly. We don't know. It's up near. Scott assures me it is.
It's on TV somewhere in the world.
Yeah, I'll be coming to my Nick Tucker and seeing what he knows about that. He knows where.
It's definitely on because I had a look on the illegal streaming Fire Sticks, and it's all the FA Cup games are on there tomorrow, so it's definitely on.
Okay, there'll be a watch along.
You can see where. Let me find the link I sent to Dan. Just pad for a second, Dan.
Yeah, well, that's it. There'll be a watch along then. So come and join us for that. We always have a good laugh and a good time, and there'll be the fan cams afterwards and all of that.
There is a website out there. I think it's called Live Soccer TV. And they have a listing of where you are in the world of where the game will be on. Right. But it's not on in the UK.
It's not on in the UK televised, but it's on the illegal streamings.
Yeah, I'll be flying around the world, on my private jet, going finding a channel. We'll have it up. We'll have a laugh. So thank you everyone for watching. It's been a fun show. Thanks for Scott and Ryan for making the show a fun one, and especially, obviously not so fun and the sad stuff.
I was going to say, we'll talk about deaths, Scott hating Trevor Brooking and getting us relegated.
I don't fucking hate Trevor Brooking.
Cornet's gone to the Bermuda Triangle. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's I don't know where I was going with that one. So I'll just get out. One thing left to say, lads.